Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Community Hour. You'll notice a little difference in our set this evening. We're trying to start a new concept over the next year, the next few programs. We're going to try bringing you, the people, out into the community. As you've seen on our past shows, we have some great people in our community. We'd like to show you where those people operate and how they get along and all the great places in our community. We've started off, of course, as you can tell, by the building in the background. This is the sanctuary at the Mental Physics, just outside of Yucca Valley, between Yucca Valley and Joshua Tree. I came here, looked around this place. It's a very interesting, fantastic place. There's history here, there's great people here, and there's a great service to not only the community, but mankind in general. And what we'd like to do now is introduce you to the people that run and help created this place, and just do a lot for the community around here and a lot for this organization called Mental Physics. Let's step over here and say hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello,
how are
Bob.
you?
Just fine, thank you.
And
hi.
The Reverend Barbara Waldrop.
That's right, and Donald.
And Reverend Donald Waldrop. Mm-hmm. And how are you folks today?
Good.
We're just
Good.
great, just great.
And let's see, about how long have you been associated with Mental Physics?
I've been associated since 1954.
Uh-huh.
I've been on the staff since 1961 as our founder's assistant, and then he appointed me to take over.
Okay. And what about mental physics in our community? How long have you been in this community?
We've been here since 1941. The property was acquired. The first 3 buildings were erected in 1941. And that's as far as we could go at that time because a restriction on building materials because of the World War II building program for all the soldiers and sailors, etc.
Shipping all those building materials overseas to fight the war?
Yes.
Right.
So you did get started here, and how many buildings did you build? 3?
We built 3.
Mm-hmm.
Cottages.
And they were cottages here?
Just cottages. They didn't, when the students came up, they would sort of camp out in the beginning. And at the dedication, they came and they just were spread all over the desert.
All right, so a little shelter for the students is what we were after in the beginning, and that's what we got. Mm-hmm. And then what happened is we got your first sanctuary here?
Well, before that, we had the administration building was constructed, and also the Caravansary of Joy, a building 700 feet long with 25 rooms for delegates.
We're going to get to that building before it's over. That's an impressive building.
Yes.
And I just want to explain to you or express to you that this place is magnificent. I enjoyed so much the trip around this place. It's beautiful here. It's wonderful. The people here are so friendly and everything is so nice here. It seems hard to believe that it's just off Highway 62 in Yucca Valley. There are places that I saw along here where you wouldn't believe that you're in the desert. It's beautiful, the trees and just everything, the rock work. Something I'd like to explain right here is all the rock work that we're going to see here, the rocks were actually quarried on the property.
On our property,
here.
we have just under 400 acres, and to the north of our property in the hills, they quarry this. It's a type of rock that's only found in this particular area.
And I saw some rocks down here that were of the type that are the oldest rocks in the world, of the oldest origin.
Gneiss or gneiss. It's the Precambrian, the oldest rocks on Earth.
All right. We're also going to see a building here, your cafeteria, that kind of has a little history to it.
Yes, it's glass all around, so people can eat and see out and see the beautiful surroundings.
Something about the design of that building, the people that designed it? Frank Lloyd Wright?
Well, they had some of the early designs, but actually these were actually constructed in charge of Lloyd Wright.
Okay.
Jr.
Well, folks, what we're going to do is spend a lot of time here at Mental Physics and show you all the wonderful things about mental physics, and I think basically the most proper place to start would be right here with your first sanctuary. So maybe, come on, let's just take a little walk.
Okay.
We'll walk up here to the sanctuary and take a peek inside. How's that?
Good. We call this the first sanctuary of mystic Christianities because the early Christians were mystics. And through our practice, we consider ourselves mystics because we have the essential experience. This was completed in 1958. And at that time, it was kind of a radical design for a church, and it appeared on the cover of the nation's leading architectural magazine. One of the unusual features of this sanctuary is it has a floating ceiling. It's suspended by thousands of number 9 wire for acoustical effect.
Listen to the sound in here.
Yes. We do not need amplification in this building. You can speak or even whisper from one end and hear it at the other end with no problem.
And just the surroundings in here, it's just beautiful, huh? It kind of has its own presence.
It has a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, it does have a wonderful feeling. Outside.
Some of the people who come and sing for us, they ask to come back and make some recordings in here because the acoustics are so good.
All right, it's beautiful in here. Beautiful pictures around the wall. And what do we describe this as? Would this be an altar, a podium?
This is the chancel.
Uh-huh.
The chancel. And those chairs were brought by our teacher from China. As you can see, they're beautifully carved. Actually, they're museum pieces. One of the interesting things about these chairs and other beautiful Chinese furniture that we have, our teacher was the official geographer of China, and he was also the financial advisor to Dr. Sun Yat-sen, the first president of the first Chinese Republic. And in gratitude for his service, after the emperor was kicked out and the mandarins, they were very generous in giving him all kinds of beautiful pieces of Chinese furniture.
And if you realize where this chair came from and how it was made, and if you think about where this chair has been,
yes,
it's amazing, huh? And let's go into the teacher a little bit. Who was the teacher? Is it the teacher or the founder?
The founder, his name was Edwin John Dingle. He was, his mother passed away when he was born. His father passed away when he was 9 years of age. And his father founded the London Evening News. And our teacher was brought up and apprenticed in the same print trades, mapping, as was his father, his uncles, and his cousins. It was kind of a family tradition. And after serving on several papers in Cornwall, England, he took an examination and won the position of assistant editor of the Straits Times in Singapore. And it wasn't a short time he was its editor and really put that newspaper on the map. And he was in the Orient approximately 25 years. And during this period, he learned many Oriental languages. And he went into China, the idea of walking across China and sending articles back to his paper and the London Evening News. And he talked to an Australian newspaperman into going with him. And they went up through what is now known as Vietnam. It was very rough going right after the turn of the century. And the Australian newspaperman got cold feet and he turned back. So our founder, Edwin John Dingle, went ahead. Walking and riding horseback.
And sometimes he would be on a cart. He said they had no springs. And
springless cart.
They wore out many bodies before they wore out the
All right.
He said he could take a journey of a day or so in one of these springless carts and you'd need to go away for 2 weeks to recover from all the aches and pains.
So Mr. Dingle is basically responsible for all this grandeur.
This is a painting taken from a photograph of our teacher when he was in his 60s. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
He was in his 60s?
60s, yes.
Boy, we're not doing so well, are we?
He was 96 when he passed away.
Interesting robe.
That's a wonderful story about the robe. Our teacher was in the far west of China doing some geographical work, and he knew he had to get out of it was monsoon time, and he needed to get out of the weather. And he saw this shack, and he knocked and asked the young man who was in the shack, could he stay? The man said, I have a lean-to alongside my shack. You can use that. And he did. He put his pukai on a box on the floor. A pukai is a Chinese comforter. And he tried to sleep, but he couldn't sleep. The stench was so bad. It smelled so bad.
terrible odor.
And the next morning he asked the young man, what is this odor? He said, it's my father. He passed away several weeks ago. And the man was a minor Chinese official, and he had to have a funeral that fit his station in life. And the young boy didn't have the money. And our teacher at that time wore Chinese gowns, and he kept in the hem of his gown various sizes of silver, pieces of silver. So he took his knife, slit the gown, took out a piece of silver, said, bury your father. And in gratitude, the young boy gave him one of his father's official robes, and this is a robe.
Oh, so this is official Chinese robe?
Yes.
And what kind of a time slot are we talking about here? What year was this in approximately?
This was before the Chinese Revolution of 1909, 10, and 11. It was just prior to that.
So turn of the century.
Right after the turn of the century.
And who knows where that robe came from before that? The history
Very
of that robe may go back another 100 years.
It's quite old.
The stitching and all is actually gold thread.
Oh,
Yes.
all right. Okay, and what we have here, I presume, is the book corner.
Yes.
And this is literature about
Some of our
metaphysics.
teachers' writings and other writings of a spiritual nature. For instance, this is a book called Helping Heaven Happen by Dr. Donald Curtis, who is a regular speaker here in church. He's written many popular books.
He speaks here? He's
He
At
speaks
least
here.
once a month.
Oh, he's a local here? He lives in our
No, he
community?
lives in
lives-
Desert Hot Springs.
Oh, comes up the hill?
Yes.
I guess even the people from Desert Hot Springs like this
Yes,
place, huh?
yes.
Yeah. And we usually, the person that is speaking on the platform on Sunday invites people to come over and browse and see if they can
all
find
right.
something to their
And some
liking.
interesting books here. How to meditate,
Yes, this is one of our
Diet.
teachers. Diet.
diet. And something that I
your
learned
imagination.
since I've been here is that mental physics is also a, let's call it a physical state. You
Body, mind,
advocate
and spirit.
Body, mind, and spirit. Great.
Yes.
In our initiate group course, we teach Tibetan breathing practices because to firmly energize the body with oxygen and prana.
Okay, and this painting?
It's a painting by one of our students who is a great artist. She was an artist for the movie studios and later for television, and then she retired here. And many of the paintings she did came to her psychically. And this was her rendition of Jesus. This is what came to her.
The mystic Christ, she called it, because some people don't understand that mystic means a person that understands by way of experience.
Uh-huh.
And so Jesus was a mystic, and he taught us with his teachings how to become mystic.
And the name of the artist?
Saleo Winkler. Start
Well,
now.
this is an interesting building here. And what building is this?
This is our meditation building, and it was constructed by one of our students, Art Damrose of Los Angeles.
And here's something that we already mentioned. These are the oldest rocks, the
This
type
is
of
called
rock?
gneiss or gneiss, and it's the Precambrian, the oldest rock on Earth, and it's quarried here. A lot of our people who live in this area don't realize that we're in a very, very special place, archaeologically speaking and geologically speaking.
All right, that's very interesting, the oldest type rocks.
You can see the pressure that caused it, the heat and the pressure that caused it, and this was quarried just to the north on our property.
Okay. And I noticed that there's some cars here. Is there a class going on in this building
Yes,
right
there's
now?
a class
Yes.
going on. We have
Let's
a
see.
class.
Would we be intruding if we just went
we
in and
could
said
peek
hello? You think we could peek in?
Yes, I think it'd be good.
Wow. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay. If you be seated here in the class. And maybe you could give us a little history before we get started here. How long has this class been in effect?
This is a class that was begun just recently, but we've had ongoing classes for years and years and years. This particular class, Pearl, would you mind telling them what this class is and the other classes we have? This is Reverend Pearl Sechrist.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this is the Initiate Group course, and it's the first course in the science of mental physics. And we teach spiritual breathing exercises in here, and we also teach philosophy.
Okay.
And the persons also, the students also ask questions of the teacher so that they are left not wanting, for information.
So when a person first comes to mental physics, this is approximately where they start?
Yes, this is where
Okay.
they start.
And if you don't mind, you can just go ahead with your class as if we weren't even here, and
All right.
we'll...
And Evelyn Haggard is our class, Reverend Evelyn Haggard. She's our teacher.
Evelyn?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to have you here.
And I'd like to say thank you for letting us come in here and interrupt your class.
Oh, it's perfectly all right. Today we're on Lesson 12. And Lesson 12 is part 2 of the Great Illusion. And as we have studied in mental physics, it's a process where each class adds to the other. So today we did some review of Lesson 2 and Lesson 3 and Lesson 6 and Lesson 7. And I'll share you a little bit with what it's all about. Today we're learning that it's our imagination that is the creative spirit. And that as we become more aware of our imagination and what it's all about, and we become aware of how it joins with our logical mind, then we're going to be more able to create. But the great illusion, as our founder, Ding LeMay, calls it, the great illusion is what we get through our senses. In other words, we tend to see things in a certain way, or think of things in a certain way, or anticipate things in a certain way according to what we think. And so the world becomes what we think it is rather than what it really is. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
Yeah, this is what the great illusion is. And so in this class, we're attempting to get beyond the illusion and get into what reality really is. We truly believe here that we are, in a sense, in a certain way, divine expressions of God, and that we are the creator in human form. Now, to some that might seem kind of a far out understanding, but once you study the lessons, you get to that point, you could understand where we truly are creators in our own life. So today, what we're doing, first of all, we start with our breathings. We learn the 8 key breaths in the Initiate Group course. And today, we're going to go through all 6 breaths. We're up now to just the 6th breath. We're going to go through all 6 breaths in order, because we find as we do this, it builds a wonderful energy. And our founder gave us some wonderful affirmations to say after each breath. So I'd like to demonstrate maybe at least 1 or 2 of these breaths, if that's okay with you.
Be fine.
We feel that the type of breathing that we teach here is maybe one of the most important foundations of mental physics.
Now all together, first the thought.
I thank thee, Lord, for the breath of my life.
Now all together we exhale. Now I'm taking in light. Filling the lower part of the lungs, the middle part, the upper part. We lock the breath in with a big sniff inward, and we hold it. I am the master of my body. Pull yourselves up to your full stature. Now we get ready. All together we exhale. Keeping the tension. We take in a little breath, and then we relax entirely, coming right down. Softening the knees a little as we await the affirmation which follows, the revitalizing breath. First the thought together.
I thank thee, Lord, for the breath of my life.
Now all together we exhale. Now I'm taking in life. Life. We lock it with a big sniff inward, and we hold it. Now we get ready. Swing in number 1. Swing number 2. Swing number 3. On both sides, we exhale. Keeping the tension. We inhale a little breath, and we relax entirely. Coming right down. Relaxing entirely as we sit down quietly, looking within.
Well, very interesting. Another very interesting part of your organization here, mental physics.
The breath animates the life. And we feel that the power, if you look into the life of someone whose breath is measured, their energy and activities are measured to the same extent.
Well, again, we could spend the whole show in this room right here, playing the gong as it would be. But I think we better not. We better move on to see even more interesting things. Okay, so we're moving on to another building now?
We're now approaching the Preceptory of Light. That's our main classroom. And preceptory simply means teachings of light. Preceptor is a teacher. Preceptory is the teachings of light.
Okay.
And we have, it's quite a large room, and this is where our larger groups meet during our seminars. And not only do we have at least two-week seminars a year, we also sponsor other spiritual groups. Any group that elevates human consciousness, we have an interest in.
So basically what we're talking about here is this is a religion of religions?
Yes, we sponsor many groups. Every religion has been sponsored here.
And do we call this a religion, or?
Well, the Institute of Mental Physics is, people retain their own religious affiliation if they have one. If they don't, they make a religion or a philosophy of life out of our teaching. It acts as a catalyst so that everything you've learned in the past, no matter where, is put into the big picture where you can understand better.
And this is the Preceptory of Light?
This is the Preceptory of Light. Okay, this rug was taken from our teacher's home in Los Angeles. It's an authentic Oriental rug. It's been in here many years, had many feet walk across it, and it's still in very good condition.
And again, basically what happens here is people remove their shoes before they came in?
Outside, yes.
This is because we do some breathings laying down, almost face down. And so there's nothing, it's not a ritual or anything, it's to keep the carpet clean so that when you put your face down, you don't.
So we're not gonna take off our shoes this time, but I have to come back and clean the carpet when we're done? Is that what you're saying?
We'll sign you that job.
Well, let's move on into the preceptory here and take a look at this room. Ooh, this is a big room.
Yes, this room is 60 by 60, the main part. And as you can see, there are no obstructions to view through supports. It's very unusual construction. O.K. Earl of Pasadena designed this. You see these beams going across. They are actually 32 one-inch boards laminated for strength. And then there are buttresses that go in here and go down into the ground, and then there's huge cables come underneath in the concrete here to give us greater stability.
And what is this room usually used for?
This is used for our seminars and when we sponsor groups. This is the principal. We have other teaching centers or rooms, and this is our principal room for teaching.
Okay, can we move up to the interesting picture there?
Yes, this is a picture of our teacher's master in Tibet, and it was done psychically by the same artist, Celea Winkler, and she had made some sketches, and she showed our teacher, and he kept showing her how to titivate it or correct it so that this was he said it was a good likeness of his master in Tibet.
So there is the inspiration of the founder.
Yes, and this man was 154 years of age at this time. So 154 years of age.
Years old.
Yes.
I guess it must have been the altitude, or maybe it was the attitude.
The breathing practices and many other things, many spiritual practices that they practice there, and
quite an interesting place, Tibet, and around the Tibetan beliefs.
And our teacher, his visit there was authenticated, one of the few that was authenticated at that time, back after the turn of the century. And there is a book called Occult America by an Australian newspaper man. It has many pictures of this place and other of the teaching, and he claims that in an investigation, all of it is authenticated. So we're very grateful.
Nice building.
It has a nice feel.
Nice big
in
room. Has a nice feel here.
And this lamp hanging in the center originally was in China. It was an oil lamp. And our teacher, of course, we converted it to electricity. But that oil lamp, in many of our publications, we had that on the cover.
Almost like a logo.
Yeah,
Very interesting. Let's move on outside and take a look at another one of your buildings.
This wakes them up. and brings them to class. Sort of an
So that's the assembly
thing.
bell. The I imagine it's also, we're coming to the cafeteria. Is that the
Yeah, when lunch is ready. And
lunch
they don't-
bell?
We remind them, come on.
Dinner
it's
bell,
ready.
assembly bell, class bell?
We also have, you can't see it from here, we have two huge outside speakers, and we have a Caroline bell system inside. It plays beautiful music.
Well, let's see, something that I found out that I was pretty interested in is this is not the only mental physics place. You're the same organization, you're expanding, is that it?
Yes, we have
Where-
a place about the same size in 50 miles out of Reykjavik, Iceland. We have centers
They
all
only
over
have
Spain,
Two buildings, though.
all over
Iceland?
Mexico, Iceland, and
Mexico?
also and in Quito, Ecuador, in South America, where they have a center there.
And they're building a headquarters for mental physics in Valencia, Spain. At present, it's offered in two places in Madrid, one in Barcelona, one in Galicia province, and then in Valencia. And that's where the headquarters is going to be.
So this is a worldwide organization?
Yes.
Yes.
Is the headquarters is there going to be in Valencia, Spain, but where's the headquarters now?
The headquarters, the entire organization is here.
So we're at the focus point of mental physics
That's
right
right.
here.
Yes.
But
All
each
right, that's
country-
great. No wonder it feels so good here.
Well, a lot of wonderful people come here, and most of them are working to understand and express their spiritual nature. And so because of that, we think they bring some good vibes and take a few of the other vibes, and
All
it just
right.
keeps growing.
That's great, that's great. How many, let's say, participants worldwide do you think there are?
We have enrolled over 240,000 students over the years. Now, they're not all active at the present time, but we've enrolled that many.
240,000 people.
Well, as I told
Very
you
interesting.
before, they keep their own religious affiliation, and once they learn this, it doesn't make them dependent on it. Teaches them to walk alone and
Yes.
live what
All
they
right.
know.
Self-mastery.
It's a philosophy. That's
Yes.
kind of what I'm getting out of it. And now, in the beginning, we said that we would see a Frank Lloyd Wright building, and here we are.
This is the Lloyd Wright building here.
Okay, let's
Lloyd
take
Wright
a.
Jr.
Well, Frank Lloyd Wright started the designs of
Originally.
was the original architect, but he didn't get along too well with our founder because both of them were giants
In their own right.
In their own right, so there was a conflict there. So his son took the plans and finished the building.
So they're actually works of Lloyd Wright Jr.
All right.
But the
Ver-
design was by
Yeah,
Frank Lloyd Wright.
very interesting. Nice building. Too bad lunch wasn't being served. I see some of your employees in there mopping up the floor and cleaning the place up.
Yeah.
How many employees do you have here?
Would you believe we only have 3 on the ground and 5 in the office?
So 8 people maintain this whole place.
That's right.
We try to.
Hardworking. Well, yeah, it's a struggle.
We had to do as many other.
The downsize
We
because of cost.
restructured last September
Uh-huh.
and cut the staff pretty near in half. But we usually have about 20, 25. When we have groups in, we bring in extra time.
Help in the kitchen.
Well, I see the floor's wet in there, so we better not go in there. They'll be yelling at me. I know when I'm home and they're mopping the floor, I stay out. That's it.
Right.
By the way,
Okay.
every year the California turkey buzzards land here going south and get water and rest, and then coming back when it's summertime, they come back and stop here on the way.
Well, here we are again, and I'd like to point out one more time the stonework. The stonework is all quarried on the property?
Yes.
And who did the stonework here?
I'm not familiar with the
Construction.
builder who did this, but
Some unknown laborer along the way who just spent many
Well, no,
months, if
I
not years
imagine
here?
they had a number of contractors. We weren't here when they actually built this. But
Well, there's another building that has a massive amount of stonework just like this over here on the property, and the name of that building?
the Caravansary of Joy, and where you see the most stonework is the north side of Friendship Hall.
Okay, so these are apartment type buildings here.
These are the facilities for delegates. There are 25 rooms in this building, large rooms. Each one has its own patio. I'd like to tell something about a lady who used this. This was her shrine, she said. She came every year to an October convention. And one year she brought Madame Foix, who was the widow of one of the top French generals. And we made her feel so at home. We sang the French national anthem on one of our picnic areas. And she was so happy. She told a friend of hers, the leading general in France, and I have a very nice letter, showing her such courtesy, but she was such a lovely lady, it was no problem at all.
All right. And again, I noticed the stonework on this building. The name of this building is?
Caravansary of Joy.
And exactly what it is.
These
a lot of
are
joy come in this building.
more like motel rooms than apartments.
So people that come here to study, or they come here for various reasons, seminars, retreats, all kinds of, and they come and they can stay in these rooms.
Yes.
And I noticed other places around the property, there's all kinds of these little
Cottages.
Cottages of
Yes.
rooms.
Well, most of the cottages are either rented or coming up for rent. But one of them's been repaired since the last person moved out, but someone's scheduled to move in.
Okay.
And they're not used for the students. Those are rental property. On the rental property, we pay tax. On the buildings that's dedicated to the retreat, we don't have to pay tax.
Let's take a look at this wall right here. This is rock work. The rock work in this place fascinates me. It's great. When you think about all the work that went into this.
Yes. And the particular coloration of this rock can only be found in this general area. So,
all quarried right here, all put together here. It's great. I think maybe what we'd like to do is, if we could now, is let's take a little walk around this building and just see some of the rock work that's in this building. This is a beautiful building.
I think it'd be very good.
Look at the rock work here, folks. This is beautiful stuff. If you could just get into what it took to put this stuff here, and it's all quarried on the property. Tell you what, if you get a chance, come out and visit the folks here at Mental Physics. Even on the 10th of February when they have their White Elephant sale, it'd be a good thing to take a look at. But the rock work in this thing, it's beautiful. It's old. It's just like me. It's old, folks. It's old and it's good stuff. And here we are back at the wall trips again. I understand that there are underground water tanks here. And what happens is, the water story around here. Well, hi, folks.
Hi.
Glad to see you again.
We were very fortunate in the earthquake in 1992 that didn't knock out our water system. We had a sign at our entrance and water there, a hydrant. And many people, I think you said you got water there. Yes.
Yep, I was there getting watered. I live up on the mesa, or I used to live up on the mesa. And I live down in Paradise Valley now, but when I lived up on the mesa, our water was off up there. And what happened is I came here to your entrance and opened the tap and got water. We took it home. Without that, I don't know where we would have gone. But there's something interesting. You have one of the first wells in the area here, the well that you have. You have your own well here.
We have 3 wells. And we have the water examined by a laboratory in San Bernardino every month. County requires every 3 months. We do it every month to be sure there's not enough bacteria to even measure. So we're very fortunate.
And let's see, somewhere along the line I heard a story that connected the water on this property to the airport in Yucca Valley.
Yes, that was when they had a program to resurface the runway, and the High Desert Water District had promised water, and then they had this shortage of water and they couldn't fulfill their promise. And we had just put in a 8-inch water main all through our property. So when we had to sterilize all those pipes and putting all the chemicals in it to sterilize them, that water was not fit to drink. So we gave that water to the Airport Commission, and they had enough to really compact the foundation for the runway. So we were very happy to do
the project because they had a finishing date. If they didn't finish it by a certain time, they didn't get the grant.
There was a government grant.
All right, well that's very interesting. And we're standing on basically a water tank underground right here that you have another reserve.
This is just, we have a big water tank.
This is emergency.
But this is emergency, and we change it fairly regularly so that this could be used for drinking water if we had to.
You're self-sufficient here as far as water goes?
We have a tank in this direction, 110,000 gallon tank is our main tank. And then our principal well to the west here, it has a large demand tank. It only pumps when we use the water. So we have a wonderful water system.
Okay.
But if all of it's dependent on electricity, and should we have a shake that turned the electricity off, that's what the emergencies are for.
Well, again, back to the stonework. I'm just amazed by the stonework. You probably figured it out by now. I'm in love with the stonework here. It's great stuff. I've been in the construction business a long time, and I really see when I see this wall, I see people actually here working and stuff like that. And you're very fortunate to have this kind of labor-intensive project here.
Yes, we're very fortunate. We count our blessings.
Yep.
We're just custodians here. We're not owners. The Institute of Mental Physics owns it. We're custodians.
This place, by the way, is irrevocably dedicated to humanity. If mental physics could not carry on, the state would have to approve whoever used the property after that. It can never be sold where one person or persons can benefit from it.
So this is dedicated to the good of mankind.
Yeah,
Right.
Great.
Right. And no one person or group of people can benefit.
Well,
Except
as I have
when I'm
said,
overusing it.
as I have said a few times today, we could spend the rest of the show right here, but I think this is probably a fitting place to end the show here. We're at somebody's labor of love in this wall. We're at your labor of love in this whole idea here that is mental physics. I'm sure glad that I came along to visit mental physics, and maybe some of the people that see us out there in the community will come along. You are open to everyone.
Yes,
not
and
only
if they want a tour, if they call ahead, we'll give them a tour.
Just find your way to the office and talk to Trish, is that it?
That's right.
Call us on the phone.
Okay.
Or call us, yes.
Okay. Beautiful place you have here. Beautiful people, and I want to thank you very much for allowing us to come in
thank
here.
you for coming.
Thank you,
That's
Bill.
Reverend Barbara Waldrop and Reverend Donald Waldrop right here, and this is Mental Physics, folks, and these are a couple of more great people in our community. See you next week, folks. Well, maybe not. I have another place to show you. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to leave here and we're going to run downtown to a little place in Paradise Valley, a park that is dedicated to the children of our community. So we're going to take the people at home, we're going to take them away from here and show them another fine place for our young people.
Wonderful. That's great.
Thank you
Wonderful
very much.
community service, Bill. Keep it up.
Thank you very
We
much.
look forward to it.
We
Bye.
appreciate your program and all the information you bring to us.
Great, thank you very much. It's a lot of fun doing it.
Yes.
I meet people like you in places like this, and that's more than reward enough.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
and
Thank
we'll
you.
hope to see you in one of your white elephant sales here next
Okay,
week.
good.
February
Okay,
10th.
good.
February
The public is invited. We'll also have food available for sale, and there will be 6 bands available on the 10th. The White Elephant sale will be the weekend of the 10th and also the next weekend, but not the bands.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you again.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.